Coaching is unlocking a person's potential to maximize their own performance. A quote from Tim Gowie, the author of the book, The Inner Game. Today, I invited my coach, Amanda Fisher, on the show. Last year, I was stuck. My company did not grow as projected. I was frustrated, and Amanda was referred to me by a good friend and a colleague. I am very excited for you listeners to join in on our conversation. Hey ballers, welcome to episode 104. In this episode, we're going to talk about business coach and how to work with one. So with me is Amanda Fisher from Indianapolis. Hey Amanda, welcome to the show.
Hey Bea, thanks for having me.
All right, what are you working on today?
Oh man, lots of stuff. Wrapping up 2020, heading into 2021, and helping our clients figure out how they want to grow and what they want to do and how we're going to do it the best way we can, given the circumstances we've got.
Okay, sound like you got a lot going on there.
Yeah. Lots of different things right now. So, you know what? A lot of different things are on people's minds today. Been spending a lot of time talking about how we're going to hire top talent for the coming year. It's a hot market right now. Lots of people are looking, and likewise, lots of people are hiring. So we've been having a lot of conversation about how to recruit and how to attain that top talent too.
Okay. Before we go on to that, would you mind to tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I work for a company up here in Indianapolis called Sandler Training. We are the largest training organization in the world, so we're a franchise of that. We really focus in a couple of different areas. We do some sales training. We do executive sales leadership training, and I actually focus a lot more with owners, and I spend a lot of time with executives. So what I do is I come alongside them and I help them to achieve whatever it is that they're working on. So I'm in performance development space. My job is to help connect people's intentions to their outcomes. And that really means a lot of different things. So sometimes people hire me because they're frustrated because their business cycles look up and down, kind of like a roller coaster, and they're not really sure why. Other times they'll bring me in when they're disappointed because the person that they thought was going to be the one that takes their organization to the next level isn't really the right person. Generally speaking, people are promoted because of a merit. They were really good at what they did before, so they got a new responsibility, or because there was a gap and they were the next best option. And so that can leave owners feeling a little disappointed, or sometimes there's just a little bit of distrust in the organization and we have to figure out why. So that's how I spend most of my days. And when I'm not doing that, I'm now a second grade teacher because I have a 7-year-old, or I am a senior, or I'm not a senior. My daughter is a senior in high school, and so I am teaching, that kind of curriculum as well. So I do a lot of different things and wear a lot of different hats during the day, but those are the things I spend a lot of my time doing.
What did you do before all this?
Well, I was in banking before this. Actually, I've held a lot of different jobs, and that's kind of what makes this position even more rewarding and a lot more fun. Is I've had teams as large as 250. I was in sports management before this. I worked with the Indianapolis Colts and did a lot of different things for them, and worked with partnerships with them and with different organizations. So I've had teams as large as 250 employees, and I've had them as small as 5 working for retail and doing different things in those spaces. I've had different divisions of retail. I've had business-to-business sales opportunities. I've done all kinds of stuff. You wouldn't believe it. And now it's been really nice. I'm on an island of one, which is fabulous.
You sounded like you started when you were 5.
Let's go with that. I like that. Well, it has been quite a while. I did start working when I was 13. So with that said, it's been quite a long run. And with that, I've had a lot of different opportunities, and it's a double-edged sword. I've had a bunch of different experiences, which is what makes me really great at what I do, because I can look at these individuals that I coach and people that I work with, and I can say, look, I get it. I've been there. I've done it. I've been fired. I've been hired. I've been embarrassed. I've been excited. I've succeeded and I've failed. I've cried from frustration and I've cried from excitement and joy. I've been at the bottom. I've been at the top. I've won and I've lost, and I've been confused. And, you know, I've had a lot of experience in, you know, a very short amount of time, and it makes for a pretty powerful offering and resource for people. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, as I was sharing with the audience earlier in the intro, that uh, we started. You were coaching me last year because I was in a situations where I felt stuck, and you had helped me to I say unstuck. So
Mm-hmm.
and in this episode, we want to talk, you know, I want to help the audience just to for people who may be in the same situation as I was, to figure out, because if I didn't talk to other people, I wouldn't figure out, well, maybe I need to get a coach, or I need to talk to someone to help me to grow my business and grow myself. So, can you maybe explain what a coach does?
Oh, sure. Sure. And I'm really glad you asked, because I think that there's a lot of misinformation out there. And, you know, it took me a long time to realize that that's what even I did, to be honest with you. A coach to me, and this is my personal definition of it, but a coach is someone that helps people where they are, expand their thinking, and get a clear path on where they want to go. So a minute ago, you mentioned that what we really worked on was getting unstuck. I come in and help people extract their own information. It's not a business advisor. Now, do you ask me questions on different things, and do I help you with a process, or do I help you with a specific thing? Sure. But I'm not coming in and telling you how to run your business on a day-to-day. That's not what we're doing. We're using what you already feel and what you already know to help you get to where you want to go. It's your own intellectual property. It's just locked up inside of you, usually because of fear and doubt and worry and things that you don't even know are keeping you from reaching the potential that you really have. And to me, that's what a coach does. A coach looks you in the eye and says, all right, man, how am I going to know when you're lying to me? How am I going to know when you're lying to yourself? They offer accountability. They offer a safe zone. They call you on it when you need it. And they're there for you to help you get to the next level. And that next level is really dependent on the level that you're on right now. That's a coach. So to me, you're just working where you are right now to get to somewhere different. And different doesn't mean the top. Different just means above where you are at the moment.
So, I hate to ask you this, but are all coaches created equal?
Absolutely not. And I'm so glad that you did. I like how you said, I hate to ask you this, but no, I really don't think they are. And I can say that because I've met a lot of them. I've coached a lot of them, right? And I've also had a lot of them myself. And no, I don't think they are. And I think that's also an important thing for whoever is looking to get one, to really interview several of them, because it's got to be something that fits. You want somebody that's going to push you outside your comfort zone, but somebody that also creates a comfortable environment with you. And when I say that, I really, a rule of thumb, right? A coach should be able to create an environment that has 3 P's in it. Here's the tip for you, 3 P's, right? Potency. So you want something that when you talk, you feel like you're getting some valuable information. They're right there with you. You want protection. You want to feel like when you have this conversation that you're going to be protected, that you can say whatever it is that you need to say without fear of retaliation, without fear of judgment, without any kind of backlash or judgment and fear of any kind, right? And you want to make sure that you have permission in there too. Permission to give feedback to your coach, because your coach needs to know how you feel like this is going. So those are really important pieces of the environment that have to be created. And all coaches are not created equal. Sometimes I think that there's a lack of communication in a coaching relationship, and it can put one person kind of on a little bit of a pedestal. And that's just really not how coaching is designed. Also, coaching is a process, and it's an actual process. I've seen a lot of coaches just kind of show up and be like, okay, so what you want to talk about today? And there's really not a plan, and it's more of a therapy session, and there's no real outcome. And sometimes that can feel like you're just there. And while that's okay sometimes, coaching is an actual process. In fact, in Sandler, it's a 7-step process. And when you got 7 steps to get through, it's not exactly a quick thing either. So no, we're not all equal.
So are there different type of coaches? Just
What do you
like,
mean by different types?
like, when you go to doctors, you have the general doctors, you have the foot doctor, you have the brain doctor, the heart doctor. Are coaches like that?
To be honest, I wouldn't think so. I would think that you'll find some that are going to be better at some pieces of the puzzle than others. That's really what I would base it on. Some coaches are just going to be better than others. It's not that they're going to be specialists, although they may have a special craft that they like to work on. It's just going to be their skill set is just going to be more advanced than another one. I don't really see them breaking it down. They may break it down by industry, but really coaching is a process, and it can be applied to any industry. It's just going to be how good they are at what they do, good at their craft.
So that lead me to a point. How do I know if I meet a good coach or a bad one?
If you're if your performance improved, if you walk away feeling like you've ended up somewhere different than where you began, if you are excited to have another conversation with that person, if you find yourself later on recalling information that they said to you, if you find yourself thinking, oh, I need to call that person later on when you're not engaged with that person, when you are going through the process later on and you think, oh, this is what we talked about, that's the sign and the mark of a good coach, because they said something memorable. A coach's job is to help you think differently. And if they can help you do that, then they've done their job well.
So how do I find that out before I spend hundreds and thousands of dollars?
There's no way to do that.
I'm giving you a hard time now.
No, I think that you interview them, and I think that you ask them, set some very clear expectations. I'm a big fan of setting some upfront agreements with individuals. Hey, what's it going to look like when we work together? How are we going to know when we're successful? And set some manage the expectations from the very beginning. I think that that is very important. I've had coaches before where after a session, if I've walked away feeling like, I didn't really get what I had hoped I would get, I had to really evaluate, was that because I didn't know what I intended to get before I showed up and that was on me? Or was it because I asked them questions that I didn't get answers to them and that was outside of the scope of what we were doing? Or was it inside of the scope and they didn't know the answers? So you have to be really clear on what are the expectations. Like I mentioned before, a lot of folks confuse business advisement with coaching, right? And there's a big difference. Training is also very different from coaching. Training is when you're teaching somebody a new skill. Coaching is when you're seeking to understand. Coaching is when you are having the other person reach an understanding of something. So in coaching, it's more questioning techniques. It's more asking somebody, what's going well? What could we do better? What do we need to do different? And what do we need to do different? None of that is me training you how to do something. The moment I start teaching you how to do something different, we've left coaching and now we're in training mode, which is a completely different service. And I think that's important for people to remember.
I think most people do mistake teaching and coaching because they think, oh,
Very
I get a
common.
coach. Now my coach got to tell me what to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know, the other one that gets thrown in there is mentoring. And mentoring is completely different as well. So there's really a lot of misinformation that's out there. So I love it. I get so excited when people make the decision that they're going to hire a coach. And then I ask them 1,001 questions to make sure that I understand what they're really looking for. And 8 out of 10 times, they're not looking for a coach. They're looking for something completely different.
Do you have some example to share with us?
Sure. So, for example, like I mentioned earlier, I work with a bunch of different executives, right? So I like to play with small business. These are companies that are in that 1 to 10 million space, okay? They may be looking to grow their business, let's say with talent, not even necessarily with more sales per se. They're just looking to grow their talent. That's something I spend a lot of time doing. So they come to me and they say, Amanda, I need a coach. I really need somebody that's going to help me grow my talent. And I'm saying, okay, that's great. So how can I coach you to do that? Well, I need to understand what, salespeople really look like, because the last 3 that I've hired, they just haven't worked out for whatever reason. I said, okay, well, how would you think I would coach you to do that better? And they would say, well, I want you to teach me what real salespeople look like. What word did they use?
Teach. Yeah.
Teach me. And say, okay, well, cool, I can do that, but that's training, right? So now I got to train them on how to hire salespeople, which, cool, I do that all the time. It's actually one of my favorite things to do. So I'll teach them how to hire salespeople, and then I'll help them and teach them how to interview them. And then I will teach them how to onboard them. And then I can teach them how to review their performance. And then I can coach them on how to perfect it. See the difference? So I can't coach somebody on something until they learn a skill. And then you're ready for coaching. So that's why I say it's a process.
It's
Make
like
sense?
coaching an athlete. They gotta
That's
have
right.
the skills
Great
already.
analogy. That's right. That's right. Great analogy. Think about the NFL, right? You got a head coach, and then you've got all these specialty coaches, right? Well, the head coach is not going to the quarterback in the middle of the game and saying, all right, listen, bro, I need you to tilt your arm just a little bit, a few more degrees when you're going to throw that pass. No. He's going out there and saying, all right, what's our play? What's the strategy here? Here's what I need to have happen. What's the strategy? He's not looking at the fundamentals. He's expecting the skills already there. He's extracting. That makes sense?
Yep. That's really good example. So,
Yeah.
for a long time, I use myself as an example because I feel like a lot of people probably can agree to the same degree that I feel like I'm very disciplined. I'm very ambitious and, I know where I want to go. Well, why would I need a coach?
Well, that's a great question. Here's the thing. Even the most ambitious people and even the most motivated people understand that there's another layer, right? There's another level out there. Think about Michael Jordan, right? He is my favorite example to use. What did Michael Jordan do before every single game? Every single game.
This episode is brought to you by Buzz Vacation Rentals, a premier property management company in Houston and Galveston area. Give Buzz a call at 281-549-8432 to learn more about their rent guarantee program, or check out their website at listwithbuzz.com. Now, back to the Real Estate Baller Show. I don't know. I meant to go watch his series.
He went out there and he shot free throws. LeBron James goes out there, shoots free throws. Any basketball player, they go back and they practice the fundamentals. Every single game, they go back to the basics, right? Michael Jordan quoted himself as being the most coachable player as long as the coach was credible, they were reliable, they had intimacy together, right? Which means they were on the same level. They had that trust. He would listen to them, and he knew that he would become better. He wasn't the most gifted and talented player. He was the most coachable. And that is what made him the greatest. So even the most ambitious people, they understand that their best way to the top is to be the most coachable. And that's often how they get there, is that they listen to people that they trust to help them get there. If a coach is really good at their job, they're helping to expand their thinking. They're helping you to see things that you didn't see before. They're not there telling you you're doing it wrong and how to do it different. They're having you think about it differently. So what happens if you turned your foot this way? What happens if you shifted your hand that way? What happens if you looked at it from this way? That's what a coach does. It's a completely different thing. It's not training. And that's why a lot of people use a coach.
Okay. So it sounds like in order for a coaching relationship to work with you and the coach, you got to develop a trust.
Oh, 100%.
And it start with that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's an earned right. It's an earned right on both sides, because I know when I work with my clients, sometimes when we set up a structure, and since we did work together, you can attest to this. We had an arrangement where there was time on the calendar that this is what we did together, and we knew what we were going to do when we came together. But we talked and texted outside of that time when things would pop up. If I had a question for you or you had a question for me, and there was always that open line of communication, and that's just part of it. And I think that you've got to spend time getting to know each other a little bit. And so that way you can feel comfortable doing that. I have had relationships with people in the past where I didn't feel comfortable reaching out to them. And I've had people in the past that have abused that line of communication before, and that didn't work either, right? So you have to be careful with setting those boundaries, but at the same time, I think that you have to earn that trust. You don't get to just hire a coach and then everything that comes out of your mouth is, gold. And just like everything that comes out of the mouth of the person you're coaching isn't always the truth. There's a lot of digging that has to happen on both sides before any progress can really be made. There's a lot of layers. It takes time.
So what's happening now with the pandemic? I feel like I cannot have a conversation with anyone now without bringing that up, How is that changing the coaching, the process, the way it works?
It's been really interesting. When it first started, I saw a huge increase in the amount of coaching that I was doing with my existing clients, just as they started to battle some new obstacles, some new things that weren't there before. A lot of people were really getting by on their alleged good people skills. And then all of a sudden, they couldn't use their alleged good people skills. And so they had to really dig deep and use technical skills. And that was a struggle for a lot of people. So some real coaching had to come in, and then we had to come up with some real training. And so it really shifted the way that a lot of people work together. And for myself, I had to figure out, how do I create that intimacy over a computer screen? But I figured out how to do it. I have clients, Bea, that I have never even met. Well, for example, you and I have never even met each other. But I will tell you, you can do it. You can create that intimacy as long as that is your intention and your goal. You can create intimacy over a computer screen. We're creating intimacy right now with all of your listeners. And I think that as long as it's forefront of your mind and that's the intention, you can have a coach anywhere. It doesn't have to be face-to-face. It doesn't have to be in the same room. And I think that that has been, a part of this pandemic, that people have really started to shift their thinking, because before it was, I don't want a coach. I don't need a coach. I'm great on my own. And I think now they're realizing it's a little lonely at the top. And so I really saw a big uptick in coaching as the pandemic has continued. I've seen a decrease because now I think people are shifting back towards, everything's so messed up, I don't know what to do. So I'm going to fold inward, which is kind of scary.
I'm going to sidetrack a little bit. Earlier, you talk about what you do with helping people to find talents. I haven't checked today, but our employment rates are high. They still haven't dropped. Does that make it harder, more challenging to find talent since we have less talents out there? Or I guess tell us more about, that piece of finding talent.
Sure. So I read a statistic a long time ago, and this doesn't have anything to do with unemployment rates in general, right? But it's something that I built into my convictions. 86% of people are open to a new position if it's going to be the right thing for them. So that doesn't have anything to do with people being employed or unemployed, right? But if I always think of this as 86% of people are open to the idea of having a conversation, that's how I approach looking for talent. Now,
86%? That's pretty high.
86% of people are open to a new job of some kind, shape, or form, right?
Wow.
The key is,
that's very high.
Yeah. And I find it shocking, but that's the key piece where you got to build it into your conviction, because it doesn't equal unemployed. It just equals open to a new position. So if I go out to dinner with my family, right? Okay, maybe a poor example right now, but let's say you go out to dinner with your family and you have fantastic service. Okay, listen, I have at all times, I have clients looking to hire. So as long as I always have my radar up, I am collecting people for my people bank at all times. And always, my business owners, I'm always preaching to them to do the same thing. Listen, your number one job as a business owner, or your number one job as an owner of a company, is to be recruiting to your company. Don't even worry about for what position. Look for culture fit. If you found somebody that you thought gave you great service, or somebody that you enjoyed their company, get their information, because it may not be today, but it could be later on. The best time to find a job is when you don't need one, right? So the best time to find an employee is when you don't need one. Same philosophy. So I spend a lot of time trying to have other people jump on my crazy train of 86% of people are open to a new job. And once they start believing that, it really makes this whole idea of recruiting new talent 10 times easier to manage.
I'm still hung up on that 86% number because I'm thinking at any given moment, 86% of my staff can leave.
That's right. That's right. It goes that way too. Despite your best efforts, right?
Yes, yes. So go back to coaching. How many coaches does a person need?
One,
One. Got to find
one.
that good one and work with.
You got to find the good one. Yes, yes. In fact,
And
I've even bowed out of relationships before, finding out that the individual has multiple, because one, I don't think that's a good use of their money. And I'm paid to be a good steward of my clients' money. And that's just not right. And I don't want, the last thing I want someone to do is to be getting conflicting opinions on different things, because I'm here to help clarify the situation, not complicate it. And so I do bow out when that situation happens. But thankfully, a lot of times I get picked, which is great. But at the same time, I do think that people that have multiples, you're just really adding more stress for yourself. And I don't want to put people in that position. So really, you need one, just one.
it's a huge commitment just to try to meet the things I need to do with one
Yeah,
coach, let alone multiple.
yeah, that's right. Just one.
So speaking of money, what's the
Hmm.
reasonable rate for someone who said, you know what, I want to be better this year. I'm gonna start looking for a coach. What would be a reasonable rate if you can go into that?
Yeah. Well, it's all over the board, right? I'm a firm believer in you get what you pay for, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Like my rates, for example, I quit charging by the hour because I don't work by the hour, and I am not going to commit to somebody to that because, well, like we talked about earlier, I'm a Marco Polo fan. We drop videos all the time. I've actually even created ownership groups where people can do all kinds of different things. I don't want relationships that are charged by the hour. That seems awfully hard to manage. So I just do a monthly fee, and that way you get open access. And now I've even opened it up to where you get open access to my firm. So if there's other things that we can help you with, we do that. So now I've got it to where, like, I tell people it's probably going to be anywhere between like $1,000 to $1,500 a month. And that's really, I know some people are like, oh my goodness, but $1,000 to $1,500 a month to have an open line of communication with somebody that you can ask whatever you need to. It's a really good return when 788% of that is generally made in a revenue of some other kind, right? And 92% of CEOs that have a coach say that they would never go without ever again. So other people do it, but they charge anywhere from $300 to $600 an hour. And so if you were to go, 4 hours a month, an hour a week, you do the math, that's $2,500 a month, right around in there, 2,400, 2,500, right around in there. So,
Yeah. I've
you know,
known many
I
friends of
think it's
mine
fair.
that have grown over the years, and most of them, many business owners and entrepreneur, and they all credited their growth to some form of coaching or mentoring, one way or another. Um,
Mhm.
so as we wrapping up, what would be like the tips that you can give to the audience who start out looking, wanting to look for a coach, but they don't really know what to look for and what question to ask?
Okay, let's do this. There are really, when you're working with a coach, there are 5 areas, right, that I would say spend some time thinking about these things. Okay, the first one, really think about the mentality of avoiding the half-hearted commitment. If you're going to do it, go all in. So if you're just dipping your toe in the water, make sure you have that conversation up front. Do not have a coach that's okay with taking your money if you just want to dip your toe in the water, because they're not all in and you're not all in, and you won't get what you need. You got to be all in and they've got to be all in. So that's the first thing, right? Make sure you're all in and make sure they're all in. So no half-hearted commitment. Second one, focus on how you're going to be a give and get kind of relationship. Ask a lot of questions about their philosophy on business. How do they intend on helping you grow your business? Right? For example, I make sure that when I partner with businesses, I'm also referring them business as often as I can. I am also looking for ways that I can help their business as far as is there clients that I have, or their connections that I have. When I come across salespeople, or if I come across personal assistants or whatever other positions they're hiring for, can I swing talent their way? How is this going to be a give and get kind of relationship? Because this is what you're building, an equal business relationship. It's really important with your coach that you are in it together. So focus on having a conversation around how you can give and get together to build a partnership, because it's not just one-sided. Also, look for possibility. You want to have somebody that's really good at having and also conversations, not and or conversations. I've seen a lot of business coaches out there that push people into these, well, you can do this or you can do that. I am a really big fan of making sure you can have the and also conversation. You can do this and you can do that. You just got to make some adjustments. So make sure that when you're talking to your coach, your philosophies are in order, that you guys are on the same page. If you know naturally you're a person that moves really quickly, make sure your coach is somebody that's going to pump your brakes. You need to have a yin and a yang, because you guys got to be on the same page. And also versus and or is really important. The next one, do the homework.
The same page, is it the same as sharing the same values, core values, culture?
Yeah. Share, make sure that you are sharing same values, that that doesn't mean that you both have to, share everything the same, but it does mean that you want to feel good about the people that you do business with, but you want to have enough difference that you feel like they're going to challenge you in really good ways. So when you say, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, they go, whoa. Give that a couple days to think about it. You want to slow it down just a little bit, right? You want to make sure that they're adding the kind of value you need, but not stifling your creativity. So whatever you feel like you need, you want to make sure that you guys are talking about that. Okay, 2 more. So number 4, do some homework. Look them up on LinkedIn. Talk to previous clients. Make sure they've got some real testimonials that go with them. Make sure that you do just do a little bit of homework right now. I'm not saying spend hours and like research, but just check them out, right? Make sure you check page 9 of Google reviews, not just page 1, right? Just make sure that who you are going to do business with is somebody that you would feel good telling your mama that you're going to do business with them. Okay.
What if they're not active online? How do you do your homework?
Well, if they're not active online, that might not be a good sign. No judgment, but we want somebody that's relevant, right? We want somebody that's probably active and moving and grooving and adding value to people and enhancing our business community and enhancing business space, right? So I just think that those things are important. Now, other people may not. You don't need the #1 podcaster out there. You don't need the #1 best-selling author. You don't need the #1 best everything. But you do want somebody that's going to have some credibility to them, and you do want somebody that's got some establishment to them. Only because you want to make sure that who you spend money with is, again, going to give you some value, okay? Otherwise, just go pay your neighbors. Right? You might just be looking for an accountability partner, and J-Bo next door might just be able to do that for you. Yeah. And he can probably do it a lot cheaper, right? My daughter, Carolina, she's 7.
Your brother?
She's my video coach. So, she's already going to whack me for this because my hands are all over the place, and she's already gotten on me twice about that this week. So, just make sure you got somebody, right? Believe me, she's really expensive though. So, and then the very last thing is, if this is something you're going to do, develop some kind of sense of urgency around it. And I say that very carefully though. Urgency is an emotion that is created by your emotional system. And it's not always a good thing. So by this, I mean, create a timeline. Give yourself a deadline. If you say, what's really going to help me get to the next level in 2021, and the next level can be whatever it is. It doesn't have to be some, marginal increase to your bottom line. Maybe it's just, I want to add an additional product line. I want to add new people. I want to add a branch of my business. I want to do X, Y, Z. If it's just some kind of goal you've got, set a deadline. That will increase your urgency to it. So if you're going to hire a coach, if you're going to think about this, add a timeline to it. Give yourself a goal. That's important.
So set a deadline when you want to hire one. Okay.
Yep. So those are my 5 tips.
Be all in, give and get, and then got to be on the same page.
Yep.
And do your due diligence. And then sense of urgency. Set your deadline of when you want to bring your coach on board, or when you want to get on board with that. All right.
And look for possibility.
Great. Yeah, that's really great conversation. As we wrapping up, is there anything else you want to add?
No, if anybody has any questions about anything that we talked about today, I encourage you to email me or to call me, or however I can be of service. This is something that I'm extremely passionate about. I'd be delighted to chat with anybody that has questions, or if you're looking for coaches in your area or whatever that is for you, I'd be happy to help in whatever way that I can. Just let me know.
Yeah, I know you've always helped me, whenever I have a question. So I have no doubt that you will help any of these, the audience. This is a question I ask every guest that I invited on the show. What's your favorite hobby?
Ooh, interior design.
Really?
That is my favorite. Oh, yes, absolutely. It's my guilty pleasure too, which is really kind of sad, but I have this app on my phone. It's called Redecor. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but I will get up an hour early. I kid you not. I will get up an hour early every day so that I can play this design game on my phone and compete in all these different things. I am totally addicted to it. But yes, that is my absolute favorite hobby. If this doesn't work out, I'm going back to school and getting my interior design degree, because that's what I'm going to do.
I don't think you're going to have to do that, but I would love for you to move to Houston if you decide to have a change.
I may just have to have an and also conversation.
I got all these houses for you to decorate.
You just give me a budget, V. You just give me a budget. I can do it all remotely, because I'm doing all this through an app. Why not, right? Virtual reality. Right. Just give me the goggles and I can make it happen.
That's it. Okay. And how does the audience get in touch with you?
Oh, they can email me. It's amanda.fisher, Fisher, at Sandler, SANDLER.com. Or you can go check me out on LinkedIn. All my contact information is there too. And feel free to send me a message through that. Either one of those two are great ways. As my kids will tell you, I'm probably connected to either one of those way too much.
Well, I will put your contact info in the show notes. And okay. That's wrap it up. So thank you for being with us today, Amanda.
Yeah, my pleasure. Lots of fun. Thank you.